everybody, and welcome back to the United Stand. We have a cracking show in place for you. Take two. If you know, you know. We were struggling with some audio issues. We are back. Hopefully, all is working well. But on tonight's show, Ruben Amorim reportedly has 3 games. Job. He has Chelsea home, he has Brentford away, and then he has Sunderland at home. 3 games to prove to this board, prove to the ownership that he should still be Manchester United manager. Immediately, I'm going to get in the poll, back or sack, and I'm not talking about anything else. I'm talking about purely the manager. Back the manager or sack the manager. What do you think? We've also got some reports on what the manager shortlist is, what Ineos have already drawn as their manager short to replace Ruben Amorim if he does lose his job, which seems like a very real possibility. I mean, it feels very, very, very early to be talking about a potential new manager at Manchester United, but these are the reports that are coming out, and we're going to discuss it. We have to discuss it as a community. Please, as well, everyone, this is a very interactive show tonight. I really want you to get your comments in. Let me know what you feel. So many people have different opinions. Some people want to stick by the manager. Some people want to keep the manager. Some people are already saying who they want is the replacement manager. Some people are hoping he's going to adjust the players in his system. Let me know all your thoughts, all your questions. I also put out on my Twitter at BethTMUFC on there a question. What do you want me to answer and discuss? Honestly, on tonight's show, it's going to be complete, open, and honest conversation, and I cannot wait for it. Also, some more news about how much it's going to cost Ruben Amorim, not cost Ruben Amorim. He's going to get a big pay packet. Let's put it that way. But how much it would cost Manchester United and the board to sack Ruben Amorim and replace him, and also as well some very real reports coming out, which I know has got some substance to it, that Newcastle potentially might test Manchester United's resolve in getting Mainoo in January. They want to sign Mainoo. Eddie Howe really likes Mainoo. They made a little bit of a push towards the summer and were umming and ahhing in the summer whether to go for Mainoo, but they are now considering going and trying to sign Mainoo on a permanent basis in January. So get your thoughts in on that. That's another topic point that I want to discuss towards the end of the show. Also, a little bit on Bruno Fernandes as well, and details coming out about him moving on to Saudi Arabia. What are your thoughts? It could be happening sooner than we think. Also, a couple of people are saying as well, there's still some mic issues. This is the best it's going to get tonight, guys. I have tried my absolute hardest. We're not in our usual settings, so we're just going to have to roll with it. As long as you can hear me, that should be fine. I am very sorry if there is any technical difficulties that are coming through to you. We're trying our best. It's all about the discussion tonight. It's all about the topic of conversation. So let's get right into it. So starting off, it is coming from the Disco Mirror. Ruben Amorim effectively has 3 games to save his Manchester United career. Among the candidates to potentially replace him are Oliver Glasner, Gareth Southgate, Marco Silva, Adoni, Iraola, and Maurizio Pochettino. Who would everybody want if we did? And a big question I want to put out to you guys as well, and I really want you to put your comments in the chat, that if Ruben Amorim did go, and it feels very early to start talking about Manchester United manager that is only 10 months into the job, that is currently in situ. It feels very early to start talking about who we're going to have next. We're going to have to talk about the news that's coming out, and that shortlist is out. Who would you want? And the most specific question is, if we got somebody else in, would you want someone to take over what Ruben Amorim is already building, as in the 3-4-3, so the 3 at the back, the wing-back system? Or would you want to go back to 4-3-3 or playing 4 at the back? Or do you not think the formation is important? You would do either or. Let me know, because I have my own personal opinions on which direction I would steer towards if Manchester United did pull the trigger and sack Ruben Amorim. So, and to be honest with you, as much as it is early days, and I've said this over and over again, so I'll say it very quickly, I want every single manager in Manchester United to be successful. I hope Amorim goes on like a 10-game winning streak, and we just keep winning, and we just put all this behind us. But 8 wins out of 31 Premier League games, being bottom of the Premier League table based on when he got the job at United and began work at Manchester United, being bottom of the Premier League table based on sides that were in the Premier League last year and this year, so excluded newly promoted sides and relegated sides, is absolutely dreadful. Like, at least Eric Ten Hag could say, "I've won 2 trophies." At least Ten Hag could say, "I got 3rd in my first season." We have yet to see anything from Amorim to make us think, "You know what? Yeah, we're going somewhere. There's something you can cling on to." The only thing about Amorim that I like in terms of what he's done so far is what he's done off the pitch. On the pitch, we don't win games, we don't score goals. It's really, really getting to me, and my patience is thinning big time because I wanna see my club win games. That's what I wanna see Manchester United do. Off the pitch, the decisions he's made with behaviour issues, mentality issues, ego issues, I'm all for. But certain things are rubbing me up the wrong way, treatment of Kobbie Mainoo, and also the fact we can't seem to win a game. He's not won 2 games in a row. It's just when you look over his record, it's really not good enough. Really not good enough. So that is why it's being reported that we've put together a list of candidates. And do you know what? I am gonna say it is early to put that list together, but what I think is important to know is that every single club in the Premier League is going to have a backup plan. He's gonna have an emergency exit plan. Like, even Man City with Pep, even Liverpool with Arne Slot, who's just won a Prem in his first season, they will have a plan in case that goes wrong. Every single club will, whether the manager's under pressure or not. So you always have to have that plan just in case. You always have to have that backup plan. However, when things start to go wrong and the manager isn't winning games and is losing votes of confidence, you then resort to your plan of action. And on Manchester United's plan of action, it is Oliver Glasner, Gareth Southgate, Marco Silva, Iraola, and Maurizio Pochettino. So you've got some Premier League proven names in there. You've got some names that I would avoid massively and would be super disappointed if we went near. And just so you know, in case you didn't see the start of the last show we did, where we're having some technical difficulties, just so you are all aware, I did say on that show, and I say this every time I come out here and give information because I don't want anyone to say, she doesn't know anything about inside information or whatever. Like, you can think what you want, but this is what I've been told from knowing people in and around the club. And I got told it previously, and we got annihilated for saying it on the United stand. And I've been told it again. Gareth Southgate is a serious name. He's a serious contender. When the boardroom have discussions over managers, Gareth Southgate's name is consistently brought up. I'm not saying he's gonna be the next manager. I don't expect him to be the next manager, but somebody in that boardroom likes him and pushes for him. He's discussed consistently. So take of that what you will, but he is there. Also, some information to note as well, and this isn't anything like groundbreaking, you can go and look it up and find it out for yourself. Oliver Glasner is entering his last year as Crystal Palace manager. He is entering his last year of his contract. Well, he might not as Crystal Palace manager because he might extend his contract. You never know. He might sign a new deal. He might sign a new deal tomorrow. He might sign a new deal next week. But as it stands, Oliver Glasner is entering the final year of his contract, and it's at Crystal Palace. And it came out from Sky Sports that Crystal Palace were relaxed about this. But if United do have Oliver Glasner on the short list, which is what is being reported, then that might be a cheaper option to bring in. Plus, he's a specialist in the system that Ruben Amorim is trying to build. He does play with that 3 at the back. He does play with wing backs, and he's very, very good at it as well. Is that the route that Manchester United would want to keep building on? Because you can't I find it hard to believe that Ineos went into Ruben Amorim thinking, "Let's see how he does over 10 months and hope it works." Like, surely when you are going in and tying yourself down to someone with such a different style of play than what we've seen, you are willing to back that. That's what you are going with, that's what you're investing for, that's what you are tailing your transfer window for. Obviously, we know Manchester United don't wanna just give the manager complete control, and there is back and forth and there's healthy debates around transfers, but you would be aiming to get players in that suit that system to help the manager. So maybe they might stick with that system. Would you want to stick with that system? I personally, I think Oliver Glasner is an excellent manager, and I would turn my nose up at it. I absolutely wouldn't. I think he's a really good manager. but I want to play a back four. I want to play a 4-3-3 at Manchester United if we do change from Ruben Amorim, if that does happen. Let me get in some super chats, and I'm going to move on. There's so much news to get into tonight, everyone. Get your comments in. Thank you very much for already supporting with your super chats. Smash a like on the video. I will read the poll results out as they come in as well. So, super chats come in. Mike JW, bet your mic still isn't sorted. I'm trying my best. It might not be the highest quality sound, but I know you can hear me because I've tested it when I went off air. So hopefully that is good enough for now. And you said, but on this, keep hammering for the season. Glasner set him up to fail less than a year in post. Hardly backed and no midfielders. Interesting you say this, Mike, because I've seen so many comments and videos recently saying, Beth, you're changing your tune. You go, you're being very harsh on Amorim at the moment. And honestly, it's out of pure emotion, guys. You guys are fans just the way I am. I'm very reactionary. And I admit I am. I want United to win, and I'm fed up of losing. But I did say at the start of the window, I won't fully judge Ruben Amorim, not at the start of the window, at the end of the window. I said at the end of the window, I said at the start of the season, I won't fully judge Ruben Amorim until he's been given midfield investment. For some reason, at Manchester United, we just continuously neglect the middle of the park and we don't invest in quality midfielders. So I did say I would give him time until he got the quality midfielders to suit what he wants to do. But I said this on the show the other day. Do the midfielders that Ruben Amorim needs exist? Do they? They've got to be absolutely world class. They've got to be top level physically. They've got to be superb technically. They've got to be able to cover massive amount of ground. They've got to be able to be super intelligent and read the game really well of when to jump in and when to get back in and stay in the shape. They've got to be good pressers. They've got to be everything. They've got to be absolutely everything. Do them players exist? It's tough. It's really tough to try and nail down the perfect midfielders for Ruben Amorim. And, you look at a lot of squads across the Premier League and what squad would fit midfield-wise what Ruben Amorim's trying to do. Like, couldn't you get two midfielders out of any team in the Prem that could play into midfield for Amorim and be top draw? Rodri and Reinders, potentially, potentially they really could. But you're looking at top end there. It's tough for you to make that work. So we hope Belabor and Kobe Mainoo can do it. I know that's everyone's dream, but do you really think if we'd signed Belabor in the summer, we'd be in a much different situation now? I think we'd be better. But I still think there's other glaring issues all over that team. Centre backs, Bruno Fernandes said in his interview, aren't jumping in enough. So are they not good enough for the system? Can they not read the system? The wing backs are our biggest outlet in the final third. Like, we're hoping Dorgu and Mazraoui against City are going to provide us with the attacking quality to win the game. Other teams have the likes of Gakpo, Salah, Saka, Eze, top quality wingers making things happen for them. It's Dorgu and Mazraoui that had the majority of the ball in the final third for us. So the wing backs are having so much of the ball in the final third. And when you have Patrick Dorgu in better attacking positions than you have the biggest chance creator at the club and in the Premier League for the last 5 years in Bruno Fernandes, then that doesn't add up to me. Like, you're playing Bruno Fernandes deeper than you're playing, your wing backs who are your biggest threat in the final third that aren't able to put decent crosses into the box. And it's not going in on Mazraoui. I think he's a very good player. It's not going in on Dorgu. I think he's got potential, but they're being asked a lot of, and they're being asked to produce top quality output when they're not the players in the squad that should be doing that, in my opinion. I mean, there's so much to get into, to be honest with you. We have, but good super chat, because you made me talk for a while. Ryle Joachim says, hi, Beth. As Amorim said, he's not changing. Why do you want to keep him? Next manager should be Zidane, who plays with respect from day one. He's a winner, agree. We're not getting Zidane. If Zidane was on the table, yeah. But we're not getting Zidane. He's just not an option, so there's not really much point discussing it. But on your point that you said Amorim's not changing, so why do you want to keep him? I think that's an excellent point. And I think people that keep saying give it the season, the squad isn't changing across the season, guys. Unless we throw big money at it in January and he's still here, this is going to be the same squad and he won't change. No matter what combination of midfielders you put in that system, it's not going to massively work. it can work better. I think Casemiro and Mainoo would be a better combination than what a Bruno and co would be. I think Bruno is much better higher up the pitch. According to reports, he's not even very happy playing as a deep lying player, and I think his best attributes are used closer to the attacking third. I mean, there was a graphic that got out today by Sky Sports that showed Bruno's heat map under Ollie, Ten Hag, and Amorim, and his heat map under Ten Hag and Amorim was basically the same. He played as a false nine for Ten Hag and an attacking midfielder. Playing as a six for Ruben Amorim, and it's basically the same heat map. You just can't be doing that. You just can't be doing that. So, as much as I love Bruno Fernandes, he's not gonna work in the midfield pivot. I think Ruben Amorim's gonna continue with it, so where's the improvement gonna be? And there's loads of other issues on the pitch as well. People are totally blaming the Bruno being in the pivot for that derby loss, and it's just not the case. I've seen Mark going on it loads. It's an issue. It's not the only issue. It's really not the only issue, and I think people don't wanna wake up to the fact that there's quite a lot of issues all over the pitch. But when you say he's not changing as well, just to bring this in with Ruben Amorim, I've lost it now. I'll come back to it. I'll come back to it. I'll circle back in the show. Mike JW says, "Hang on, this was a Glinios's top choice. If it's failed, then Glinios have to go. Barada has to go. They fudged up the transfer window." I think that's a brilliant point in the fact of, if you're in charge of a big decision in your industry, it works, and it's a massive, massive fail and cost the company a lot of money. You are held responsible for that. You are. I mean, I've seen people questioning online whether Dan Ashworth was the only one who knew what he was doing in that boardroom, and he ended up getting the sack. But I mean, it's something we'd have to circle back to, depending on how it panned out and how they do handle it. Another reason why I don't think Ashworth will be quick to pull the trigger is exactly like you said. He was their top choice. Apparently, they did a lot of data research on this. I don't know if that was the case, or whether it was just the fact he was maybe on the shortlist at City. I know my brother came from Man City and thought he was on City's shortlist, maybe it'll be good for us. I don't know. Apparently, it was a very data-driven search, but I think he won't be as quick to pull the trigger because it does reflect badly on them, and it's basically at the exact same point of the season that they did it to Ten Hag. They came into the club, granted Ten Hag weren't their guy, but they made a pledge to keep him in the summer after the FA Cup win, and they spent a lot of money on him. Amorim finished 15th, which is terrible, terrible, but they gave him the benefit of the doubt, which I would have done as well. Like, I cannot even deny that. I don't think anybody wanted to sack him then. Everyone wanted to hope it was gonna work, but they continued with him, spent money on him in the summer, and are in the same situation now, so they don't wanna look incompetent here, but at the same time, how long can you go on hoping it's gonna change and it doesn't? Because I was speaking to Ricky, and how about this, guys? 'Cause we've got so much news to get into, but there's just so much to talk about. I was speaking to Ricky, and I might put this poll in. This is what Ricky said to me, and I wanted to read it out on the show. He said, "Was a genuine question I was gonna put on the forum group tonight, but then I thought you might wanna bring it up in the next show, maybe even do a poll on it." He said, "As simple as this. After the early excitement of new signings starting the new season for us, how are we feeling now after we've seen these games? If you were offered a 10th place finish, would you take it?" He then goes on to mention to me that table I said to you earlier, in the sense of we're the worst Premier League side out of Prem sides that have been in the league last season and this season, and said watching the Premier League this season, the only teams he can say he thinks will finish above are Wolves and West Ham, and he said even Wolves are starting to look better, and that's alarming. Like, it's alarming. It really is alarming, and I don't wanna go too far on it, but you've got to understand, since Amorim came in, we are bottom of Premier League teams. Last season, we came 15th, and Sunderland look good already. Brentford are doing miles better than I thought they would. And which by the way, when people try and make excuses for Amorim, I know it's a complete different kettle of fish, but did anybody think that Brentford were gonna do well after the way that they handled Thomas Frank leaving and their 2 best players leaving? but there are bubbles in the table. And, Leeds, okay, yeah, and Burnley, okay, yeah. I think they're vulnerable, but still, it's not cut and dry, guys. It's honestly not cut and dry. I wouldn't take 10th, by the way. I wouldn't, but it's something that I wanted to bring into the show because based on that table, we are bottom of 10 teams, and that is close to the relegation zone. I'm not saying we are gonna, it's very early days, but based off our past record, we have more chance of finishing in the bottom half of the table than we do the top half, just based off pure facts and stats. Anyway, what would you do if Ruben Amorim back 68%, sack 32%? So the majority of you guys are still with the manager, which I can understand. I can really understand that. We all want it to work. Let's hope he can turn it around. Interestingly, though, 3 games to save his job. Chelsea, Brentford away, and then Sunderland at home. How many points? Comment quickly. How many points do you see Man United getting out of them games? Let me know how many points you think Man United will get out of them games, and how many points do you think he needs to stay in a job in the international break? He's gotta beat he's gotta beat Sunderland at home. He has to beat Sunderland at home, and I think he's got to at least get a draw out of Brentford away. I think he needs at least 4 points to come out of that and have a chance of survival. The thing is though, right, Sunderland actually look good, and we're at Old Trafford, which might save us there, but Sunderland have had a better start to the season to us. They've scored decent goals, and they look like a proper outfit. They've spent money. Chemistry's there. They're looking good. Brentford, right? I'm just looking at where Brentford is in the table right now. Okay, so Brentford, Keith Andrews, by the way, previously Brentford set piece coach, and he's come in and he's already got him higher up in the table than Manchester United. So when you look at stuff like that, it really does put stuff into perspective. Okay, he was already a club. Okay, the pressure's not as big as Brentford, but there was no expectation. Brentford are in 12th right now on 4 points. We are in 14th on 4 points, but their goal difference isn't as bad as ours. So they're higher than us in the table. Sunderland on 7 points. We could only dream. Chelsea, obviously, 5th with 8 points in there. The Chelsea one, if he loses it, there's going to be a lot of pressure, like a lot of pressure. But I don't think he loses his job because it's one of them games where Chelsea are a good team. It's Old Trafford, though. I expect at least a draw from that Chelsea game, I'm gonna be honest. I expect at least a draw. However, if he loses, I don't think he'll get the sack. If he loses then at Brentford away, does he even manage to get a draw out of it? There'll be questions. And then that Sunderland game, it has to be a win. So it really could be 3 games to save his job is what I'm trying to say there. You also have a few more reports coming out from this article, and it is, although the Manchester United hierarchy insist Ruben Amorim retains their full backing and they have no plans to replace him, it is understood they will assess the situation and the trajectory of the team after the next 3 games. Yep, 3 games to save his job. Ruben Amorim is acutely aware that he will continue to come under fire and test the faith of those who hired him, should he fail to take the team on a winning run. Like I said, tensions rising in the boardroom. It's then coming from the Daily Mail, Chris Wheeler, excellent journalist. A number of figures close to the first team are increasingly concerned Ruben Amorim hides when the going gets tough during games and doesn't do enough to inspire the team from his technical area. Now that I found very interesting. And the leaks are back, the briefs are back. It's going to happen. We don't like it. It shouldn't happen, but it's happening. So we're going to talk about it. I think, see, I always am against leaking against the manager, but I mean, it's not exactly like he hides because I think that's harsh. People will refer back to the Grimsby game when he couldn't even watch the penalties and he was sat on his bench. I did think that was a bad look. I'm going to be honest, I really thought that was a bad look. But what I can understand if it comes from this angle, that he very, 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 very rarely can impact the game in our favour from his substitutes and in-game management. Whenever there's a plan whenever we need a plan B, whenever it's not working, we do not change. We suffer and we suffer, and his plan is basically to put Harry Maguire on in the last 10 minutes to try and get a goal, if we need a goal, and change one of his centre backs. Don't know why. Often Yoro. That's what we resort to. So, okay, hiding might be a bit harsh. The Grimsby game was a bad look, and I will stand by that. I didn't like it, but he was probably just embarrassed, as you would be. But in terms of the in-game management, it's a real weakness for Amorim. City knew exactly what we were trying to do. They flooded our midfield, and we couldn't deal with it, and nothing changed in the game to really get away from that. There were periods where we had a bit of the ball and we got forward and we got chances, but we didn't really ever lay a glove on them until it was 2 or 3 nil up, and they were cruising in third gear. So, yeah, I don't think you can impact the game through game management based off what I've seen, to be honest with you. Only one I can look back to was Mainoo coming on and Harry Maguire. I don't know even if he came on or if he started the game against Leon, where he put Harry Maguire up front and he brought Mainoo on, and they both were absolutely crucial in winning us that game. But even in the Europa League final, it was dull from start to finish. And you would think in the Europa League final you'd have something up your sleeve. And it felt like there was no fight back. And that is a worry for me. The in-game management things are in-game management side of things is a worry from me. Also, there was this: Manchester United are concerned about how emotion can get the better of Ruben Amorim at times, especially after losses. That I don't mind. I like an emotional manager. I like a manager that wears his heart on his sleeve. You need to show you care. I'm emotional. If I was managing Manchester United, I'd be going off left, right, and centre. I'd be on the touchline losing my absolute hair. Remember when Ruben Amorim reported we smashed up a TV? I've had similar feelings. I don't condone violence. I wouldn't do that, but I would be emotional. That's a characteristic that I quite like. I don't think you can ever criticise someone for trying too hard. So that's not one I'm going to really run away with and comment on too much, because I don't really think there's much in that. But other stuff, yeah, I can understand. I can understand the frustration with his lack of ability to change a game from the sidelines, because we've seen it. Mike JW says, if Amorim has 3 games to prove himself, do Glinios get the same deadline? They couldn't run a bath. Look at all the mess they deliver. Yet Barada had a plan, did he? If this was the plan, it's a mess. Let me put it this way, right? I don't know how to put this in a way that I absolutely get what you're saying, Mike, and I think you're right. Do you know what I mean? If you make a decision, I'll use the same old analogy. If you actually, no, I'll switch it up. The United stand, right? Goldbridge, my boss. Okay? So, Goldbridge, head of it. He's employed me. Say I come up with a series on to put out on YouTube about a show style that I think's gonna, do really, really well, and that is gonna be the new thing on the United stand that's gonna take it to the next level. And he's like, "Beth, you know what? I trust you. You're the woman to do it. You're the person to do it. Let's rock with this." The show that I bring out goes, absolutely falls on his face. It's really controversial. Nobody likes it. Everyone's giving it such negative reviews, negative comments, and it absolutely flops. It tarnishes the reputation of the United fan. Yeah, okay, I might be in trouble, and Goldridge might be absolutely fuming with me. I'd like to think he wouldn't sack me. I'd like to think he'd give me another chance. But he would be well within his rights if something wasn't done to the standard he wanted it to have that conversation, okay? But do you think he's gonna be like, "You know what? I put you in charge of this. I'm gonna leave as well. We'll get someone else to run this whole business." He's at the top, so he gets to decide what he wants to do. As much as Ineos, would have to be culpable for the decisions they have made since they have come into Manchester United, and you certainly, certainly, certainly can question decisions that have been made in the direction this club is going in, because I look in it and I look to myself and I think, since Ineos have come in, right, we've finished 15th and we've been one of the worst Premier League sides in the league in the table, like the worst at current point. We've spent quite a bit of money, but things don't seem to be getting better yet. Okay, trust the process. Okay, patience. But they came into the football club around Christmas time. We won the FA Cup with Ten Hag in the summer. Kept his job through the summer, but then they sacked him pretty quickly into the next season. It's coming up on the year anniversary. Then they got in Ruben Amorim, which is a complete change. I backed it at the time. I thought Ruben Amorim was a good candidate, but they've got to go through the thorough process of this. It's a complete change. And if you are going to get someone in like that, because I do still believe that Ruben Amorim, if he has the tools to play the system, it can be successful. I think he'll be successful in other jobs in his career if he does, end up leaving United. But you have got to commit to that system. You've got to go and get the goalkeeper, the striker. Huge, 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 huge mistake not going and getting the world-class experienced goalkeeper, by the way, huge. You've got to go and get the wing backs. Apparently, you push for wing backs in the summer. A left wing back we know about, because Ben Jacobs said it in the show. You've got to go and fully commit. And if they get it wrong, and if Ruben Amorim doesn't turn out to be the guy, yeah, okay, you've got to look at him. But they're not going to sack themselves. They're going to stay there, and they will continue to try and get the next guy and make it work. So we can question Ineos, the Glazers all day long, but they're not going anywhere. We've just got to hope that in the long run, Ineos and the footballing side of things are going to make it work. But based on what we've seen so far, there's very, very little that you can hold on to think, yeah, it is going to work. We have gone backwards. We have gone backwards. We have. Like, I don't want to say it. I don't want it to be the case, but I have to commentate on the truth. We have gone backwards. And that's not okay, because we didn't, our standards have dropped and dropped and dropped and dropped and dropped. Like, everybody, there was protests to change the ownership so we could kick on and win again as a club. And as much as I wanted Ineos to be successful, and I still do, you have to look at what has happened, and we have gone backwards, which nobody thought was possible, really. So anyway, let me get some more super chats in. Jessica Jory says the TV camera's showing Aronson Amorim with the magnetic board and showing him during the PRND. It was almost like they were trying to make him look small. Amit Hurt says, he's a new member, thank you very much. We have I've done that one. M. Parker, cheeky. Very, very cheeky indeed. But unfortunately, that is not on the table. Jonesy said, no one's talking about that it's Liverpool after them 3. He needs 6 points for the next 4 games. But if we get destroyed by Liverpool again, my God. Well, it's one of them things where Ten Hag learned his lesson. I don't even like to talk about it, but we know what result it was. And he went to Anfield and he completely parked the bus and managed to get a point out of it because he didn't want to embarrass himself again. It was a good move. Amorim will stick by his system no matter what. So God knows what we'll get at Anfield. Is it away? Is it away? I think it is, actually. Let me just double check. Matches. Yeah, it is away. Great. King Cantona says, great analysis yesterday on the win backs, Beth. Thank you very much. If you want to go and see that bit of analysis, because speaking as if I'm like, on, got the tactics board out and everything. But if you do want to see that bit of analysis, I am actually quite happy with it. And I do truly stand by it. And I think it is a really interesting piece to watch, if I do say so myself. It's currently out on our socials, the United Stand Instagram, the United Stand TikTok. Go and give it a watch. It's a 1 minute 30 clip. And it's me basically breaking down the issues with our wing backs. It's so frustrating to watch, but I broke it down, I think, quite well. So go and have a look. Thank you very much, King Cantona, for that. Sean K says Ten Hag left us in 14th with the same midfield. Blame Ineos. Midfield needs fixing massively. Mohan Sayed says, I don't understand this. Ruben wanted Bruno to stay and be there, and in response, we are hearing Bruno isn't happy with the coach. Would you be unhappy if you were Bruno and you were getting absolutely rinsed every game for playing in a position that you're not picking for yourself? I mean, he's the captain, of course, he's got to be professional, of course, he's got to give everything to the team no matter what. But it would be frustrating if you're getting blamed and rinsed and it's not your best position. Keel Robinson says, I want a winner, Jose Mourinho. You won't give it up with that, will you, Keel? I see it all the time. Maybe like 10 years ago, but not now. Big Ron says, Amorim wants unicorn midfielders, plus he insisted Bruno plays midfield. That's got no minute. This is what I mean. People say It's not Amorim's fault he didn't get a midfielder. Yeah, he pushed for Belieber, absolutely pushed for Belieber, and he didn't get Belieber. But he also decided to convert Bruno into a midfielder to get a second number 10. So he didn't get a midfield signing, but he compromised himself out of a midfield signing by making that decision. So he massively was advocating for Bruno to stay, which I can understand why based on the fact he's the captain and, he wanted him to see out the start of this rebuild. I would do that. I'd be committed to that if he was playing as a number 10. If he was playing close to goal and in the attack being in one of them attacking 3 positions. As a midfielder, it doesn't work, and he's insisting on that, and that is gonna make it more difficult for you to sign a midfielder. I still don't excuse the fact we didn't get Believer over the line though, or a midfielder of that ilk. We had to buy a midfielder. Dane Holden says, "Plays in the middle for just aren't good enough." I agree. Uh, Herman says, "OMG, Amorim wonders it would get worse. Firing the first guy to have balls to clear out the troublemakers. Back him." I hope it pays off. I hope it pays off. But imagine, right, someone coming in and doing some work on your house, right? They smash it all to pieces and say, "It's just going to get worse, by the way. It's going to get worse before it gets better." And it's been months and months and months and months. And you don't see anything apart from rubbish and construction everywhere. And you're thinking, hang on a second, is it going to get better at any time? Few problems here. You're just going to have to stick with me. But you keep saying it's getting worse, but we employed you to build us like our dream home. Why is it not happening? It will, trust me. I've shown no sign of any improvement in the last 10 months, but it will. You've got to trust me on that one. You've got to trust me. That's where I find it difficult. I'm happy with what he's done off the pitch. I really do respect it. And we've been waiting for someone to get this club and change the culture and create a team of team players with no egos and the right behaviours. I get that, but I need to see something on the footballing side of things. Like, he's a great talker. You decorate the house, might be a great talker. He might be, making you feel amazing, proper convincing. But at the end of the day, what I'm seeing is no progress, no work being done. And it's like, I need to see something so I can hold on to this vision that you've got from me. I need to see something to show me that you're going to have a fully renovated house very, very soon that I can live in comfortably. I need to see from Ruben Amorim something on the pitch that's going to make me believe. That's all I want. I'm not asking for miracles. I'm not asking for Champions League. I wanted it. I'm not asking for it. But I need to see us win some games. I need to, first of all, baby steps. I need to see him win 2 games in a row. That's what I need to see. Like, you can't just keep saying Amorim told us it's going to get worse. You can't have something get worse for a year. Okay, yeah, last season, understood. You came midway through a season, it was a mess. But you've had a transfer window now where you, okay, maybe didn't get everything you want, but you got money. And we need to see something. You've had a pre-season to work with these players. To say they've not got the right mentality, for Bruno Fernandes to say in that post-match interview that the centre-backs weren't jumping into midfield at the right points, we should know the system. Amorim should have coached the system. We've had a full pre-season, so there's only so many more excuses I can take. On that Bruno Fernandes interview, remind me, I'm coming back to that in a second. Javier Mas says, to believe that a below par transfer window is enough to turn around a decade of bad decisions is delusional. Give Amorim time. I don't want to take the bait, but I feel like you're trying to wind up the ticking time bomb here. Look, like I said, I'm not expecting Premier League titles. I'm not even expecting Champions League. We are the worst team in the Premier League based off teams that haven't been relegated or newly promoted. You're telling me that a team with international players in there, you're telling me a team of, Bruno Fernandes, Sesko and Bumo, Cunha, Ahmad, De Ligt, Yoro, Mazraoui, like names like that, Casemiro even, are the worst team out of all the Premier League teams that haven't been promoted or relegated. You think that's acceptable? Like, I'm not asking for much, but I need more. I really do need more because okay, things are going to take time, but even Keith Andrews is already, doing more at Brentford than what people are expecting. Sunderland have just come up from the Premier League. They're doing well. Like, look at Thomas Frank. That team came 17th last year. They look like a proper outfit. He took Champions League winners and the best team in the world all the way to penalties. Like, you need to at least show us something. It's going to take a long time. I'm not saying it's not going to. But you can't be the worst team for this long. You just can't. On paper is what I'm saying there. Ian Tracy says, the best thing is that for Amorim's system, but he still hasn't got us doing the right things out of possession apart from at Anfield last year. Jeff says, Dyche interim till the end of the season. That's Ricky's burner. No. 4-4-2, solid basics, grind wins, build confidence for the new manager. No manager wants to take on a team on a streak like this. Bisson says, what's the point in the right or wrong ingredients for the chef when he keeps burning the food anyway? My impression of Amorim's management is not good enough. Odu Kamaya says, I back the manager. Do you have any patience for a rebuild at all? Calling for a manager's head after 4 games is ridiculous. Not called for his head. I've called for some accountability. Have I said sack him once? I've not. But I've said he needs to be seriously looked at and there needs to be some accountability that this can't go on forever. Emily Derry says, Sir Jim wants European football, yet we don't back a project manager properly. Now Amorim only has 3 games left to save his job and we're linked to widely different managers. No cohesive planning, just panic. Mikael Anderson says, I think Amorim needs at least a summer more. We need to complete a clear out. If they were to sack him, I see Glasner as a good replacement. Let's talk about the replacements in a second. Just on Emily's super chat as well there. Sir Jim wanting European football is, I want European football, but you've got to walk before you can run. I did think there was a potential chance at us, creeping in to Europa League and then even pushing for that 5th spot. That is dead and buried by now. Especially, I saw Mark's show the other day and I actually thought he made a really good point. Player for player, Newcastle have a better side than us. Spurs have a better side than us. And you're not even talking about the likes of Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal, City. It's going to be very difficult to expect Champions League football. European football we could push for. There's a lot of good teams. But like you said, I do think the planning needs to be questioned. It's not looking like we have a clear in succinct plan as of now. But I think it's hard to plan around the fact that your manager is already under scrutiny, 4 games into a season. Is it 4 games or 5 games? I think it's 4. We had Arsenal, we had Fulham, Burnley, City, 4 games. Thank you everyone for your super chats. I'm going to come back to them in a second because I know that there's more coming in. What a super interactive show. Absolutely love it. Any more polls you'd like me to get in there? If United sack Amorim, should we go for a 3 at the back or a 4 at the back manager? That's a brilliant one. It's a brilliant poll. Shout out to admin for making that poll. Back 3, 28%. Back 4, 72%. Wow. So the majority of you guys want to go for a back 4. And to that I say, I agree with you. Out of the managers we've got, everybody put in the chat on this list which one you would prefer the most. Even if you want Amorim to succeed still, which I do, I think everyone should want. But if, say, tomorrow, we had to pick one of these, who would you pick? Glasner, Southgate, Marco Silva, Iraola, or Pochettino? Let me know who you would pick. Colin just said back up off the camera. I can't help it. I'm trying to read. I'm trying to read the comments, so I keep going back and forth. Sorry, guys. Getting too close to you there. I'm trying to wait to see what people put in before I say my comments on this, because I'm obviously gonna put one in there. So I want to see what you guys say first, because I don't want to skew anyone's votes. What I will also say is that... Sorry, I'm just getting this up now. I'm trying to get this next bit of news up to bring into the show. Hold on 1 second with me. Get your comments in. I'm about to read them. What I would also say with this is that Unai Emery isn't on the list in the Mirror article, and it was put out there that he is a potential option. I wouldn't go with Unai Emery, although I think he's a very good manager. It's just not the route that I would go down and take. But yeah, I wouldn't go with that. I wouldn't go with Emery, but he has been talked about over the last couple of days. Right. Oh, there's another poll in the chat. Admin is absolutely killing it. Vote in the poll. I'll tell you now who I'd go with. If I had to pick one, I would go with Iraola from Bournemouth. Reason being, and it's literally, I would expect Manchester United to go into way more depth of planning than what I have done. However, based off my knowledge currently and having a good hard think about it, I would go for Iraola out of them options. The reason being is get to see a back four. He's consistently put together exciting and convincing performances and wins in the Premier League, despite having little budget and losing his best players over and over and over again. I think there was a period, I think it was when, I can't remember when it was either Real Madrid or Barcelona, but when they were, before they got flicking and before they got, I think it was Barcelona before they got flicking, I think Iraola was a serious contender for them. I've heard nothing but good things around him. When we went to the Premier League Summer Series on the US tour, I actually did an interview with him, funnily enough. It was only short, but came across really, really well. It came across really well when I went to all the events. Seemed super switched on. And just the way that we've started going Premier League proven in our recruitment, and I think that's the best way forward. Who are the two most successful signings United have had out of the four this season? And I know it's unfair on Sesko, and I think his time will come. It's such early days, and I really want to give the guy confidence, and I want to give him some belief, because I think people have been way too harsh on him. But Mbeumo and Cunha are by far our best signings. Premier League proven, right? That's the direction I'd probably want to go in. I'm not saying it's absolutely 1,000,000% going to work. I think these players would have to work extremely hard for Areola's extreme pressing system to work at Manchester United. But I do think he's the best option out of the managers that are there. And can you bring Semenyo with you as well? Can you bring Semenyo with you? That would be brilliant. Thank you very much. Like, think about the players that he's lost over the years. Yet Bournemouth continually perform against good sides as well. Some really good Premier League finishes, some exciting football, and some good football to watch. That's the one that I would lean towards. I like Glasner, but I've just said Glasner, I think he's a really good manager. I think he's a specialist at that system. However, I don't want to play a back five, well, a back three. I don't want to do that wing back situation again. And I do really like Marco Silva. I love his energy. I love his passion. I love the way he speaks. I think what he's actually done with Fulham, by the way, again, considering the lack of money that he's had, he's done a really, really good job. I just think Areola's a step ahead of him in terms of the football that you see. And Pochettino, don't want to go down that route again. I've never been a massive, massive fan of Poch, to be honest with you. And I think that's been and gone. And then Gareth Southgate, need I go on? I just don't think he's the calibre of manager for that Manchester United should be on the hunt for, and who can take Manchester United to Champions League and Premier League, top end Premier League football. It's just an absolute no for me. And again, I know he plays the system that Amorim has. I want to play a back four. I know he's not as rigid with it as Amorim is. Like, he can play a back four and stuff. He loves to play a back five. I would not call it a back three, a back five. But his football is not something I would want to watch week in and week out, to be honest with you. And it's just, I don't think his track record is enough to convince me that he can be successful. So for me, the top two candidates out of that list would be probably Glasner and Iraola. Marco Silva really is a quality candidate though as well, I do have to say. But purely based on the fact that I want to see some exciting football played with a back four at Old Trafford, and I believe in this manager the most based off the performances I've seen and his future as well, I would go with Iraola. And what he's done in the game for his age as well. I was looking at him before. He's 43, like, still very, very, very young, and playing some really good football with Bournemouth, despite the fact that he's not got a big budget and he loses his quality players. let me see what you guys have said in the conversation in the comments below. So we have, oh God, I thought it was 32% Southgate then. I nearly shut the stream off. It is so far 31% Glasner, 19% Pochettino, 36% Iraola, and 13% Marco Silva. I don't think admin even bothered putting Southgate in the poll down below. Lisa said he's also stubborn. Yeah, but not every manager is going to be perfect. Not every manager is going to be perfect. Not every manager will be successful. But do you know what I've started to think about a little bit more? Is there such thing now as a long-term successor? Or is football, you come in, you get results, and you do well, you stay in a job. You don't get results, you go. And there's a certain time frame we need results in, because we're Manchester United and we need to be playing back at the top. And if you don't get the results in that certain amount of time, and you don't show anything in that certain amount of time, we'll go again and we'll get somebody else. Or would you not want to get into that cycle? And do you think it really does need like a long period of time to truly get back up there? Because I think a really good example of that is Arteta at Arsenal. But there's so many examples of managers that have come into a real poor environment and side and made a difference very, very, very quickly. Wanna do Scaring says, you want our players to work. Well, that's Iraola ruled out. That's my only concern about Iraola. You have to work like a dog. You have to work and work and work and work in his system. It's whether he can get that out of our players who previously have been, questioned regarding their work rate. Shaheen Kawini says system's too complicated but still too predictable. Yeah, massively predictable, and I think that's been shown on multiple occasions. One Inch Wonder says it went downhill since we let Vegas go. Emily Derry says United is like a big stately home that's been run to ruin for years. Takes time and specialist expertise to repair. So you're in the long haul approach there, Emily. So a lot of people will be. Shaheen Kahini says Bruno's not even good as a 10. Just keep shooting. He is. His record as a 10 is fantastic. People might disagree, but I think he's excellent there. Christine C says Ratcliffe is crazy. We keep sacking managers. We need to get better players. Mark is 100% correct. When you look at our team, I don't think Amorim's at fault. We need new owners and a reset from top down. How often do we get new players though? I'm not even going to go over it again. These players are better than what we're currently seeing. I agree. To get to the top of the Premier League, we need more. Absolutely. The squad isn't good enough, but it's better than what we're seeing. Give it Goldbridge to the end of the season, says One Inch Wonder. There was also a chat in saying Goldbridge manager, Ricky assistant, and Beth as head scout. You want me as head scout? Are you joking? Are you joking there? Sahil Aurora says, De Zerbi ball is real and beautiful. Tell you what, though, I might have had my blunders in the past. I have had my blunders, but I would have gone and got Emi Martinez. I would have gone and got Baleba, and yeah, that would have been a pretty good start to my head scout career. We'll ignore the previous names I've put forward. Also, just a little bit of background on Ruben Amorim and what it's going to cost to potentially get rid of the Manchester United manager. I'm just going to quickly get this up as well because I've not got the full list in front of me that I want to use. Okay. So, if Manchester United sack Ruben Amorim now, they would have to pay him £12 million. £12 million. So, Man United would have to pay Ruben Amorim £12 million if they sack him within the first year of his United contract. So, that's why you might not see any decisions be made before that year is up. Because it's not even been a year yet, which is crazy to even think it's not even been a year and we're talking about this. 12 million quid. Do you know what makes me sad when we talk about that? The amount of jobs that have been cut off, working class people that have had their jobs cut, redundancies that have happened, cuts that have happened all across the club, of people that have devoted their life to that football club. And yeah, we just spunk 12 million on sacking a manager after 10 months. That hasn't worked out. Like, I get it, it's a footballing decision, and if you have to do it, you have to do it, but I don't think you'll see Ineos really want to pull that trigger on getting Ruben Amorim out of the football club and getting somebody else in unless they absolutely have to, especially before the year is over. So he did say in the Europa League final, didn't he, that he would walk without compensation. Imagine Sergio on the phone. Hiya, Ruben. That offer still stand where we don't have to pay you 12 mil? No, it doesn't. All right, see you later. But like I said, I want it to work so bad. I don't want it. It feels crazy work to even talk about sacking a manager after 10 months. But at the end of the day, like, it also feels like crazy work to say United are bottom of Prem clubs, and it just can't continue to happen. Right, last but not least, two things I wanted to bring in quickly before we wrap up. The first thing, these 8 p.m. shows absolutely fly by. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Just quickly, interesting point that Ricky so funny what my mum's just texted me. My mum just texted me about my mic issues saying, keep going. I'm like, thanks, mum. Right. This is what Ricky texted me about Ruben Amorim and Bruno Fernandes, which I thought was really interesting. So I just thought I'd bring this up into the show. He said, saw Mark talking about Bruno's interview, and then I thought about it, and he said he's pretty bang, and he thinks that Mark is pretty bang on. You know, Bruno's interview where he mentioned about the centre-backs and the issues with the midfield. He was talking about only having 2 in midfield against 4, Bruno was. Wow, that's a direct criticism of our manager. And if Sancho had said that, people would want him completely out of the squad and gone. It's just given me some hope that he might get dropped. The manager can't be happy with him saying that. So, interesting. Interesting there from Ricky that he picked up on Bruno Fernandes' interview that he said it was 4 against 2 midfield. And okay, yeah, he mentioned the centre-backs not jumping in and directly kind of named Lenny Yoro in that when he was breaking it down. Some people weren't happy with that. I know Mark wasn't. I've heard nothing but amazing things about Bruno and how well respected he is behind the scenes. That interview for me wasn't the best interview he's done. It wasn't. But Ricky seems to interpret that as him criticising Amorim's system by saying there was 4 against 2. And it felt like, that happened consistently throughout the game. So, I don't know. Will Amorim see that and think, I'm not too happy with that? I'm not too happy with him saying that about the team and about the system that I set up against City. So be interesting to see if Ricky is right on that and he potentially does, get dropped for that Chelsea game. I don't think he will. I think Ruben Amorim will start him in the midfield pivot once again. And if it works, he'll be the first one saying, see, it can work. I think he will start him there, but it's an interesting point to bring in, and we can come back to this. If Amorim did take it offensively, we'll have to wait and see on Saturday. Or maybe, do you know what? That'd be a brilliant question in Ruben Amorim's press conference, whether that be Thursday or Friday. I can't remember when the press conference is. But if a journalist is in there and you're watching this show, a brilliant question to ask would be, how did you feel about Bruno Fernandes' comments after the derby, talking about how the centre-backs were not jumping in the midfield and often we were left against 4 versus 2? And is that a slight on your system and the way that you set up? I would love that question to be answered. So that'd be great. I don't think anything will come from it. I think Amorim will just see it as Bruno breaking down the game and the issues that he struggled with. But you never know. You never know. Last but not least on my agenda as well is... It's so funny when I switch between YouTube and StreamYard. My face is just mirrored because it flips because of this camera on the computer. But the last but not least thing that I wanted to bring in is Mainoo. And it is that Newcastle are keeping tabs on want-away Manchester United midfielder Mainoo ahead of the January transfer window. So I've seen this report coming out from Alex Crockett Talk Sport, and then I see as well from Sam C Reports talk about this a little bit later. And he said, word in the game was that Newcastle were considering moving for Kobe late summer window. This doesn't surprise me. Apparently Eddie Howe is a big admirer. What are your thoughts on this? Could you imagine if under Amorim, it didn't end up working out and we lost Mainoo off the back of it? I'd be absolutely gutted. I'd be gutted. I still truly believe that Kobbie Mainoo is probably our best midfielder, fully complete midfielder for the future of this team. Bruno Fernandes can play multiple positions. He's been one of the best centre attacking midfielders in the Premier League since he's arrived. I will not have anybody say otherwise. Fans' memories are very short. He's been absolutely sublime at times for Manchester United. But for the future of this club, Kobbie Mainoo, I feel like, is the best midfielder. And I feel like he's getting treated so unfairly. Like, Amorim will say that he's competing with Bruno for his position, but then Mainoo will play really well in that cameo coming on the bench for Man City, better than any other midfielder on the pitch, and yet he probably still won't start against Chelsea. So how is that fair? If you're putting in that performance and you're not being rewarded for it for a start, how is it fair? So I just think to myself, like, Eddie Howe, if we could get Eddie Howe, I would get him in a heartbeat, by the way. We won't. He plays cracking football. You know, his recruitment is relatively good. I know that, you know, Newcastle have a big hand in that, but they've changed the director of football as well. It's not always been the same recruitment team. He gets the best out of his players. I think he's got a good eye for talent. I really like him. And if he's eyeing up Kobbie Mainoo, considering they've got Bruno Guimaraes, Tonali, Joe Linton in there that are brilliant, that says everything I need to know. Like, we got told from Ben Jacobs, Fabrizio Romano, that there was over 10 clubs knocking on Kobbie's door, trying to see what his situation was in the summer. He started in the European final for England. Like, was man of the match against an absolutely excellent Man City team to win us the FA Cup. Like, come on. Play the man. If we lost him for a manager that might not even be successful, I'd be gutted. I'd be really, really, really gutted. So I hope that doesn't happen, but it's definitely something to keep aware of. Just on the end of the poll for the managers, we have no Southgate will not be an option. Iraola 33, Glasner 32, Pochettino 20, and Marco Silva 15. Really interesting that Marco Silva's last. I quite like Marco Silva, but 33% just Iraola agree with me. Glasner up there, I understand why he is top manager, but when such a big majority of you would rather go to a back four, a little bit confusing. Jack Glancy says, why is the greatest manager currently available not being talked about? Sean Dyche in. Let's get gravel and mash on the menu at Carrington. Oh, Sean Dyche. Honestly, great character, but no. Just no. I'm assuming that you're having a bit of banter there. Although Ricky, genuinely, guys, on a genuine, serious conversation, he did suggest getting Sean Dyche into me and was firmly behind it. So there is some people that think that way. You have Stephen Banham says 1 against 4, Bruno everywhere, but where should he be? Frank Wizard with a super chat. Look, everyone, it's been an hour. Can you believe we've absolutely caned it in with all the chats, all the super chats, all the interactivity? I've loved it. While the Champions League's on as well, thank you so much, everyone, for doing the show with me. Smash a like on the video if you have not already. I appreciate all your interaction. Look, I could have talked for another hour. I've still got loads of questions from the tweet that I put out. Maybe on the next show I'll start answering some of them questions, but there's so much to talk about Manchester United at the moment, and I'll be very interested to hear what Amorim says later in the week in his presser. But for now, make sure you go and head over to That's Football. Do remember, we've got so much content coming up for you on That's Football with these European nights and European games. You can go and check them out on there. There's so much to go and look at, and there's so much to get involved in. We've got some great stuff, some great watch-alongs coming up there. So make sure you go and head over and check that out. And before you leave, the last thing I want to say to you is thank you for sticking with us, even through our technical issues. And thank you so much for being such an amazing community that can sit here and debate, and we can have this therapy. Sending you all a lot of love and have an amazing week, and I will see you on the next one.